Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast, where we throw out the old blueprint so you can become who you were always meant to be. I'm your host, Jason Smith, and if you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button and share this podcast with your friends on social media and tag me in it at JBirdFit. Today, I have a very special guest for you, Kyle Kittleson. Kyle is the engaging on-camera host for MedCircle, educating millions on the vital topic of mental health through compelling interviews and educational content with world-class mental health professionals. He is skilled at translating complex topics into accessible, engaging conversations. Kyle is also a former marine mammal trainer. Kyle Kittleson, welcome to the Blueprint Podcast.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have you here. I've been going through MedCircle, and thanks to Dr. Judy Ho, she introduced me to MedCircle. She's been on the podcast. For those of you that don't know, she's the author of The New Rules of Attachment and Stop Self-Sabotage. So definitely go out and get her books. But you're the on-camera host for MedCircle, where you've educated millions through conversations and interviewing world-class professionals. How did that opportunity come to you, and what made you say yes to stepping into a role like that?
Before I was interviewing all these great doctors, I was actually an exotic animal trainer. So I worked with dolphins and sea lions and whales and parrots. And you may even hear my parrot in the background. Hopefully she's not too loud. And so I was doing that. And then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be Jeff Corwin or Jack Hanna or Steve Irwin. I want to be an animal host. So I went out to LA and I was working and doing my best to work in LA. And I was getting a little bit of work here and there and doing a little bit of action here and there. And the CEO of MedCircle, Doug Colbeth, said, hey, why don't you come interview some doctors? We're trying some stuff out. Just come be our host. And I said, happy to do it. Love an opportunity to get a paycheck too, because I'm here in LA.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And I go, I'm not a doctor, and I don't know if I'm really that qualified to do this. And he goes, well, just try anyway. I go, okay. I did my first interview with Dr. Ramani, who's a clinical psychologist. Her expertise is really in narcissism, although she certainly has a background in education and most mental health topics. And we went to her apartment and recorded this interview, and I didn't think anything of it. And they posted it on YouTube, and it went to 10 or 15 million views. And I got a phone call and they said, you should do more of these interviews. And I was like, okay. So I just kept doing it. And then the real opportunity was they said, okay, come work for us full time. Come be our full-time host. And on one hand, I go, this is the dream. This is what I've been working towards for the last 5-6 years, however long it was. And then on the other hand, I was like, I have to say no to all these projects that I've started. I have to move out of LA to Carlsbad. I have to do all these things. But I just did it because although the work in animals is meaningful, the work in mental health is so obviously meaningful. And I just said yes. I didn't even know that I was saying yes to the right thing or a good thing. I was just saying yes to the next thing. And the next thing ended up being the right and good thing, fortunately.
How do you come to that realization of whether an opportunity is the right or good thing or simply just the next thing?
Yeah. So like I think sometimes you don't know. At the end of the day, we can just guess as best we can. But my goals were so clear. I wanted to be in the host chair. I wanted to be in the chair that you're in right now. I want to be in the chair, asking the questions, leading the conversation, driving the ship. And then to see that they had a chair ready, 2 studios operating, a full crew, production, editing teams, producers, people to book guests. They had the whole operation, and they just needed the host to come in and fill this last piece of the puzzle. When I looked at that, I go, this is it. Not to be woo and go back to 2003, but
We
can do it. Yeah. It's for so long I would watch behind the scenes of the Oprah show, and I would see all these other podcast hosts killing it. And I would watch Chris Hardwick on his multiple shows and all these great hosts in that chair. I was like, where's my freaking chair? And MedCircle goes, we have a chair for you. I go, great. And I sat in the chair. I was like, yes, let's do it. This is a good fitting chair.
You have a chair? I love that for me.
Yeah,
This is great.
I love to sit, let me tell you. And so it was like a puzzle piece. It was like, I've envisioned this, I want this, I've worked for this, and MedCircle showed up and said, this is what you envisioned, this is what you've been working for, and here it is, and it's for you if you want it. And thank goodness I said yes, let me tell you that. Thank
For your
goodness.
first video to hit, you said over 10 million?
Yeah, I don't know what it's at today,
That's
but
incredible.
yeah, especially 8 years ago when
Yeah.
the videos were all getting different types of views, but it was really great. Yeah, it has 15 million views. I just looked it up. Yeah, and it was Dr. Ramani's first video too. Now she's a big psychologist. She has her own YouTube channel, 1 million plus subscribers. She's got 4 books. She's got her own podcast. She's everywhere.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I don't want to say we started at the same time, but we certainly went on YouTube at the same time. We went on YouTube together on this adventure. And I believe I've interviewed her more than anybody else on the planet, because for the last 8 years, for a big portion of that, I saw her every week. And sometimes I would sit in a room with her for 8 hours and we'd film for 8 hours and just talk, and I'd listen, but she would do the talking and I would listen. And it was so fun to do that with her and see her be so successful, like Dr. Judy, like Dr. Dominic. Like, we have so many amazing, successful doctors. So it's so fun to see them grow as MedCircle grows.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, is you sit in this chair and you do the podcast, you're being shaped, formed, honed, and you're becoming renewed in this process, because you do meet so many different people that provide you so many different experiences of their own resilience and growth, and then their education and wisdom that they're putting out there for the world. And it changes you rather unexpectedly, because you get this reflection back to you of some of the circumstances that you've gone through or challenges that you've faced. And as you're going through, you get some more language to explain some of the things that you've gone through as an individual. And I'm curious if you've had the same experience, and if that's provided you the language to reflect on some things that you've gone through.
Oh, yeah. Look, I don't want to sound like an egomaniac, certainly, but I have so much confidence because of the education I've received at MedCircle. It has changed my life in every capacity. And when I say every capacity, really, I could make a broader term in my relationships, which is my work relationships, my personal relationships, my family relationships, everything. And to go back to what you said about these doctors passing on this information, we've all talked to a lot of doctors. We've all probably seen a doctor, but that doesn't mean we necessarily learned a lot from that doctor. These doctors that we're working with not only have the education, the background, the experience, they have the ability to convey that in a way that I'm going to understand, in a way that hopefully lots of people will understand. And when it comes to the mental health education or the psychoeducation that I've received from MedCircle, it has really made me into somebody who is coming from a place of, I don't want to say knowing, because I don't always know, but certainly from a heavy place of confidence and way more understanding than I've ever had with people. I used to be I used to be a very short-tempered person. I used to be not very empathic. I used to be somebody who would roll their eyes if somebody was complaining about something hard that happened to them. Oh my gosh, it did. Like, I was just not that person, that compassionate person. And it doesn't mean I didn't have compassion and empathy. I just didn't have a lot of it. And that was the first thing that I learned really from MedCircle, was to learn how to build empathy in myself, to learn how to craft that, to be more empathic. And Dr. Ramani taught me how to do that. She gave me she gave me a blueprint on how to do that. And it was so amazing because, Jason, I have been in therapy since I was 9 years old, but it wasn't until I got a psychoeducation that I actually was able to see positive changes in my life through anything mental health related. And Dr. Ramani and MedCircle were the catalyst for that first change, which was empathy. And I would have never known that this was something I had to work on in the first place. I was walking around, yeah, this is how I was raised. This is good. You guys are all weak. I'm the one winning. You guys are the one losing. And it wasn't that case. And then And then after empathy, it became resilience. And then I started working on that. And it goes on. And all of a sudden you realize, man, there's a lot of low hanging fruit that I can do right now to improve my life. And I had no idea. I was in therapy from 9 to 30, let's call it.
Okay.
And I learned more in my first 6 months at MedCircle than I did in all my years in therapy.
It is a natural byproduct when you give yourself the time and opportunity to do the work physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and you have all those components together, that you do tap into a new level of empathy that you've never experienced before. We hear a lot of people say, I'm an empath. And it's, yeah, maybe, but you have to do the work to get to this place where you begin to see people as they actually are and not as you wish that they would be, which is often what's going on when we call ourselves an empath. You're seeing the potential of a person the way you want to see them, but you're not really seeing the whole person in that experience.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think on another side, that's a really good point. And on another side of that, sometimes we're seeing somebody and as they portray themselves, and we make all these assumptions that are incorrect. I got off a plane or I went to go pick someone up from the airport maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the person I picked up forgot their bag. So I go in to help them to find their bag because it's lost. We can't find it. And this pilot walks out and he's yelling at this woman who works there. Where's my bag? She goes, oh, it's right here. And he goes, so it's just been here the whole time? And she goes, yeah. And he goes, wah, and he like huffs and puffs and walks away. Now, that guy may just be a jerk. I have no idea. He might just live his life like a jerk. But I have a little more empathy. I have a little more grace and patience with him because I don't know what's going on with him. And old Kyle would have looked at him and been like, that guy is such a loser, such a jerk. Forget him. I hope he gets a speeding ticket on the way home. I don't want anything to do with this guy. And now I go, man, that guy's probably had a really rough day. That was probably a really terrible flight. Doesn't mean he should treat anybody poorly, but I have a little more, there's a reason he's acting like that. It's not just because he's a jerk. Something is going on with him always or at one point today. And for me, selfishly, to be able to see him and go, oh man, that guy's having a rough day, instead of going, gosh, that guy's so mean, that improves my day because I'm not sitting here holding all this animosity towards somebody I don't know.
Yeah. It's so interesting because when you're in that place, it's really easy to take on the projection of others and then personalize it and then make yourself feel bad and say, I'm a horrible person, or I'm whatever it is that they're experiencing in that moment. But when you can, it's the power of the pause, really. When you can step back, zoom out, and give yourself, again, the time and the opportunity to actually look at the situation, the people, the circumstances, even your own experience, what you're feeling internally, you end up taking your power back from these situations. And what a gift that is that you give to yourself when you choose your second thought over your first thought.
Oh, yeah. You're reminding me of acceptance and commitment therapy, one of my favorite learnings from my interviews. And there are many components to acceptance and commitment therapy, but one of them is you are not your thoughts. And you're going to have 50,000 a day or 100,000, whatever study you read. You got a lot of thoughts a day.
It's a lot.
And it's a lot. And most of them are going to come and go. But my favorite part of that pause, the power of the pause, like you said, is an intentional line that you ask yourself when you feel those thoughts. And I use the word feel intentionally. When you feel those thoughts coming in, if I said, I'm having the thought that, or if I'm sitting here and I'm like, God, Jason is so bored with this conversation. I can just tell. I'm looking at him. He's so bored with her. Yeah. So that's my thought. Immediately that becomes my reality because that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm feeling now. That's my reality, even if it's not actually true. This line where you pause and you ask you say to yourself, I am having the thought that Jason is bored with this podcast. It puts a little bit of space between you and this thought and allows you to look at the thought rather than it just experience it and have it overwhelm you. And you can still decide if the thought is true or not, but it gives you the space to look at it rather than just to feel it, accept that it's real, and then move on to your next thought. And that in theory is, I think a lot of people hear that and go, okay, I get it, whatever. Start practicing it and watch how you can feel your brain go, okay, we got to do this differently. We've been doing this the same way for 38 years, but let me do it differently this time. And it is peaceful. It is peace. It's information. It's insight. It's the ultimate mindfulness hack, I think, to pause right there and ask that question. But let me ask you this, because you reminded me of this when you said your last question. When you were a police officer and you stop somebody for any reason, and they're pissed that they're getting stopped and they have this attitude, even before you've asked them a question, how did you, because that would be hard for me if I like stop somebody and before I could even say, hey, just want to let you know you dropped your wallet, they've turned around, oh, what do you need? Blah, blah, blah. That would be hard. I don't know if I have all the tools in my toolkit to handle that. How did you handle that?
Like you're talking with asking yourself that question, it ultimately becomes the habit of being you. So you do something enough times consistently over a long period of time, it just becomes the habit of you. So I understand and recognize that going into that situation, there's going to be a variety of reactions that person's going to experience, because I've been through that. I know what that feels like. I see those oscillating likes. I don't like that feeling. What did I do wrong? What happened? I didn't do anything wrong. This is ridiculous. They got the wrong person. I'm not the guy. So you go through all this and you have that adrenaline dump, and you might have a lump in your throat going through that experience, and you're white knuckling the steering wheel as they come up, and you didn't do anything wrong. Not really. You might have been speeding. There may have been a low-level traffic offense, but I understand that people are going to have a variety of reactions going into that experience. Plus, we also train for those types of incidences as well.
You're better than me. Even if I know it's going to happen, that would be hard for me, I think.
Oh, in the beginning, it was brutal because I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the skill sets to be able to navigate those types of situations. So I was almost just as elevated as they were, less elevated, but still internally, you learn through this experience of, oh my gosh, this is a little overwhelming. But again, you do it enough times over a long period of time, and you get really good at it.
Yeah, in animal training, there's lots of names for it, but one common phrase is a learned pattern of behavior, where the repetition is over and over and over again. It's like when I first got, quote, popular online, or people were watching me online, there would be so many comments that were just mean and hateful and whatever. And man, when I was in my 20s, that really bothered me. I was like, God, what do you mean? Jack from Minnesota, you think you're better than me? And now Jack from Minnesota can say anything. It's like just the expectation. It's the experience with it, what you want.
I was actually having this conversation with another content creator about the comment sections and the way people will just fly into those. And it's, you felt a feeling based off of a video that was created, something that you consumed, that you actively watched, that you swiped on, and you allowed that to have a reaction within you. You didn't use the power of the pause, right?
No.
That's not what we're doing. So you get this reaction, you have this heightened state of arousal. Now you're angry, you're frustrated, resentful, angry, filled with contempt, whatever it is. You go straight into the comment section. You're ugly, you're bald, you're whatever it is. And they just hit you with this negativity, and you're sitting there going, man, I say a prayer for him, because I'm like, you're going through a really tough time right now. Because there's no part of me at this stage of, at this stage of life, that would sit there and say, I'm going to go into somebody's comment section and try to totally annihilate them because they made a video that I didn't like. And it's, again, power of the pause, folks.
Yeah, well, I did a video after I left the animal training field, and it got 1 million views on it. And I had the comment section turned off, not on purpose. I just had never posted a video, and the comment section was turned off. And I was getting so many emails from people who were angry about my video. I was like, God, this is so strange. And one of them said, you're such a coward because you have the comment section turned off.
Yeah.
And I go, okay. So I turned on the comment section. I got no more emails anymore. And what that told me was, to your point, is they have this feeling they got to get rid of this energy. The comment section is the quickest way to do that. And if they don't have that, they will go find your email so that they can get it out that way. But as soon as they have the comment section, they're good to go. telling me that they don't really need me to see it. They don't really need me to hear it, because then they would find my email address. They just need to get it out. Just get it out. And there's probably some power in that to get it out. You just probably don't want to just tear people down to get it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
So with all of this, how did you get to this place where you're able to distill down this level of information to the degree that you do to make it relevant for the masses?
It started with me doing the opposite of that. I started doing interviews trying to be like the expert. I'm like, if we're going to talk about borderline personality disorder, then I'm going to know everything there is about borderline personality disorder. And that made for terrible interviews. Terrible. The doctor hated it. It was a lot of prep for me. And then the layperson goes, wait, what do you mean? What are you guys talking about? You haven't even defined what we're talking about yet. And when I stopped doing that, the interviews got a lot better. I know we were just trashing the comment section, but I used to read every comment, and we get thousands of comments on our YouTube channel, thousands. And I would sit there twice a week on a couch in our office. I'm like, all right, let me read all these. Boom, boom. And yeah, you got to go through some garbage, but there's also feedback.
Yeah.
There's also feedback. And if one person says it, I don't really pay attention to one piece of feedback from a rando on the internet. But if 500 randos are saying the same thing, then I go, I got to pay attention to this. So I was getting good feedback from the comment section and making those changes into my interview style. And some of them were as simple as stop interrupting the doctor. We don't want to hear you. Yeah. And I love interrupting because I'm still a fan of interrupting. And I used to teach a hosting class in LA, and I'm like, don't be afraid to interrupt, because if you are confused, the listener may be confused. The audience may be confused, and you don't want them to keep going for 5 minutes without this clarification. And Oprah's a big interrupter, and she's interviewed a ton of people, love her or hate her or whatever, but she's interviewed a ton of people. She's a big interrupter. Maybe you can get away with that when you're Oprah. But anyway, I would get a lot of feedback that way. And then I constantly put myself in her position. And I say her because there is more women interested in mental health than men, in my opinion, in my experience. I get a lot of messages from women. A lot of our members are women. A lot of our viewers are women. Men are like, I don't know if I want to talk about mental health right now. They're not as open about it. So I always think of her, that woman who's listening, and going, is she getting her questions answered? Is she feeling seen and heard? What I will not tolerate is a doctor not really answering the question. It's Marissa's daughter is 15, and she just got diagnosed with a terminal illness. What's your answer for Marissa, Dr. So-and-so? The doctors I work with will not say, she's got to remember to rely on her community and take time for herself, and there's always new treatments coming down the pipeline. That's not a good enough answer for Marissa. She's in crisis. She's in crisis. We need actual intervention. We need real help. And so I will advocate for, quote, Marissa as hard as I can in that interview, so that these doctors who are sought after, impossible to see privately, and if you can, you better come with some cash, because they are expensive. They're like, oh, therapists are like $200 or $300 an hour. I go, not these therapists.
Not these.
Yeah, these are way more. I'm a vicious advocate for the listener. Vicious.
I'm curious the response from the doctors on that when you press just a little bit harder. How does that usually go?
I will press as hard as I can based on my relationship with the doctor. If it's someone like Dr. Ramani, I'll press as hard as I can go, because her and I have the rapport, the history, the relationship to do that. If it's a brand,
respect.
oh yeah. And she's told me too, I love when you do that. I love when you go, that's fine, Dr. Ramani, but X, Y, and Z.
That's an invitation to go deeper.
Yeah. And sometimes the doctors, and this isn't, I guess it's a critique, but it's not a dig. The doctors do a lot of interviews, and they get asked a lot of the same questions, and they get into a little autopilot, and they mention diet, exercise, and sleep, and the mindfulness and self-care, and the blah, blah, blah. And so after we get through the blah, 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 I go, that's all good. And maybe people need that reminder. I certainly do. I have a friend probably 3 times a year when I check in on him, I go, "How are you doing?" He goes, "Not good." I go, "Brad, you have not been sleeping and you need to drink water." And he'll text me the next day, "You were right. I forgot. I gotta sleep and I gotta drink water." I go, "I know." So I'm not saying those reminders aren't good, but after that, it's time to get going. And you know what? If I pushed a doctor too hard and they didn't like it, then maybe this is the wrong conversation for you. Go do another interview or another conversation where it's in your wheelhouse of things. But at the end of the day, you're on my show, and I'm going to push you as hard as I can to get Marissa her answer.
And I can tell you, people are tired of the canned responses because
And
I can look at my own downloads. And when I have certain people on and they give those canned responses, my downloads are low usually for that type of show. And it makes you question. I'm like, isn't that interesting? So then I bring out some people that are relatively unknown, but they have their social media is interesting. They have a message. They're doing something different, something new, or they're just looking at things from a different perspective. Those are the shows that do really well.
Yeah, I think people are desperate for it. One thing that I'm promoting, and I'm not saying it's new at all or revolutionary, it's far from that, but the pendulum of mental health in terms of, we'll call it healing, has swung so far to one side. And there's not enough conversation of going, "Hey, how about this just sucks? How about it may not ever get better, and you can sit here and sulk and be upset about it." We never talk about that. We always act like somebody has to get out their journal and do yoga in the morning and do all this stuff. And I go, if they want to, but what is wrong with just being pissed because you married a scumbag? We can start there. Let's just be pissed that you married a scumbag for as long as you want to be pissed about it. You want to be pissed about it for the rest of your life, you can do that. I watched a thing on
Don't recommend it, but yeah.
No, but you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
And Dr. Ramani and I had the same conclusion on forgiveness. Most therapists I talk to, almost all the ones I see on TV, the reason I'm saying this is because last night there was a therapist that was talking about this. You got to forgive. Forgiveness isn't about them; it's about you. And if you don't forgive, then you're still a prisoner of their wrongdoing. I'm like, what are we talking about? You don't have to forgive anybody. You don't ever have to. And you cannot forgive and still heal. So all of these things, the pendulum is so far over here now at least in my reality, that I'm trying to bring it a little more center where I call it, we embrace the suck. We just embrace the suck. It sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, I look at forgiveness from the standpoint that you're doing it more for yourself than you are for the other person, because you don't want to chronically live in that space where you're filled with the resentment and contempt for the situation itself. So you're releasing yourself from your own mental prison in that process. So it's more for you than it is for the other person.
Certainly.
Now, you mentioned prep, and I'm really curious about this since we're both podcast hosts. What is your preparation for doing one of your shows? What does that look like?
I do lots of different types of shows, so the prep would differ. The most common thing I do are live workshops, and these are for only our MedCircle members, so they're not public facing. These are people who pay to be part of our community every month or every year, and we do these workshops. The workshops are centered around a theme. This next one I have is with Dr. Ramani. It'll be in a few days, and it's on healing trauma, and she'll be very good at that. And we will do some Q&A with just me and her. And then we will go through some actual exercises. Like, I'm loving already, I don't know the book behind you, but it says How to Do the Work, right? Dr. Nicole LePere.
Yeah.
I'm all about that, doing the work. The MedCircle workbook, we named Doing the Work book. That's what we named it, because I wanted people to know this is work. And so in the workshop, that's why we named them workshops. Work. Again, it's work. You're not here. People want freebies, and this is work. And then we do these exercises. And sometimes the exercises are as simple as, look, here's a breathing exercise. Take it, go. And then sometimes they're like, all right, get out some pencil and paper, find a quiet room, pretend you're 5 years old. Now talk to your 5-year-old self about blah, blah, blah. It's inner child work. It's much more emotional. But we do these exercises, and then we take questions from the live viewers. And the prep for that is I work with a producer who also works with the doctor, and we come up with the big questions we want to hit. We come up with the exercises that we want to do or that the doctor wants to lead us through. And at this point, I have such a long-standing relationship with our core base of doctors that we have the back and forth. I know what they like, what they don't, et cetera. But I will always, before we approve our script and our outline, they'll always go through and say, see, this isn't the way to phrase that question. It's got to be like this and this. And I go, got it. Okay, I can do that. They're like, Kyle, when you bring this up, you got to bring this up first, not second, because it's not going to make sense if blah, blah, blah. I go, okay, I got it. I really let them lead that pre-production part of it. And then other than that, I just make sure I have maybe some product in my hair and let's rock and roll, baby. I know no one's there because they're like, we got to hear what Kyle's insight is. They're there for the doctor. So I'm just the telephone. I'm just like, here, the doctor's on.
Well, I would say you're the facilitator, and that's equally as important because you are pulling out the information at the same time from the doctor. And you're also seeing things in advance that people in the audience aren't going to be able to articulate for themselves because they might not have the language to do that. So your role is equally as important as the doctor in that scenario.
Oh, yeah. And on top of that, not to toot my own role, but I've been in every interview. I've done every series. I've done every class. I've done every panel. I've done every course. I've done it all. And so I have so many reference points for the viewer where I can go, Dr. Romney just said this. Dr. Lamb has a great workshop where we talked about go see that. I have the whole catalog in my brain, and we've tried other hosts.
And that's also really good for sales, by the way. I mean, just saying.
Yeah. And it's a very important role. And I think the doctors feel very comfortable. The doctors I hope, and they say this, and I believe it to be true. They like working with me. They feel safe with me driving the ship.
They know that you're not going to insert something that's going to be some sort of surprise or shock to them in that scenario, which throw off the whole direction of what you're doing.
Sure.
So let's give the people something actionable, since you are aware of a ton of different exercises, whether that's breathing or just one of your favorite exercises. What can we give people today?
My gosh. I was hoping you were going to say 4 something specific because there's so many. Let me tell you, the number one topic probably brought up in any interview I do, whether it's a patient, someone with lived experience, or a doctor, is mindfulness. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't even need to hear about it anymore, but it keeps getting brought up. And it keeps getting brought up with diet and exercise and sleep and all these things because it's that important. If you hear it enough, you need to go, hey, maybe that's important. And finally, after years of this, I go, Dr. Romney, I get what mindfulness is. Okay. On the test, I would answer correctly, but I don't get how to be more mindful. Like, it's too hard for me. I try to be mindful and then I'm not. She goes, I get it. She goes, just do this. Every time you wash your hands during the day, that is going to be your mindful moment. Okay. Forget being mindful any other time of the day. Don't even try to do it at this point. Just when you wash your hands. And most people wash their hands a few times a day. And the reason you want to do it when you're washing your hands is because it's going to activate almost all your senses. You're going to have your hands touching each other. You're going to have the warm water rolling over your hands. You're going to have the soap that maybe has a scent, and you're going to be doing it for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, however long people wash their hands. And the only thing I want you to focus on when you're washing your hands is washing your hands. I want you to think about the water temperature, how your hands feel, how much soap is left, if the water temperature changes, and you're naturally going to go, all right, what am I going to do after I wash my hands? I got to go vacuum. That's cool. And then just go right back to all of the senses that you're engaging with washing your hands. And of course, I'm rolling my eyes like, oh, yeah, can't we go faster? I always want to go faster and quicker. She goes, just try it. So I do it for probably a month. So let's say I wash my hands 3 times a day. So that's whatever that is, 90 mindful moments in a month. And then without her telling me to, I was stressed out about something, and my body and my mind went into the present moment, just automatically. And it didn't last very long. It was probably 5 or 6 seconds. Was not long at all. But I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being mindful. I'm doing it. It's happening. It's working. And it was because you get these little tiny reps in with washing your hands. And then your brain, that's how tiny the muscle was for me to start building. I couldn't sit down and be mindful or meditate for an hour. That's too hard. But I could do it for these little tiny things, a few seconds. And then when my body needed it, it pulled on it without me even having to call or recall it. It just pulled on it. Now I'm a very mindful person when I want to be a mindful person. And every time now I wash my hands, it's a mindful time. It's a mindful time.
I love that. Practicing presence. We often have this misconception that you have to be in Bali somewhere on a mat and you've got the beautiful scenery in front of you, and that's going to be your mindfulness practice. But many of us will never even see Bali in person. So you have to be able to give yourself, again, that time and opportunity. And one of the things that I love the most is the physiological sigh. So it's double inhaling through the nose. Yeah. And it is just glorious. So when you add that into your practice of presence, and really what you're doing is you're just noticing that you're not present, right? You're creating the awareness that, oh, shoot, what's going on right now? I'm not in this moment. I'm in the future. Or I'm in the past and I'm having this experience and I'm winding myself up. Why am I so wound up? This is ridiculous. I don't like this about myself. Sure. And so you're fighting with yourself in this moment. It's like, just pause, double inhale in through the nose, let it out, do that a couple times and notice where you are. Notice the difference.
Have you had Dr. Andrew Huberman? Has he been on your podcast?
Oh, I'm not big enough yet for that.
Not yet.
I said yet.
He came on MedCircle. I asked him, I was like, look, you're like so in demand. Everybody's wanting you. So just what's the good thing? Tell me what the good is for our audience. And that's what he said, physiological sigh. And his stuff I love is all backed by research and science, and he reads the paper before he even tries it. I gotta see the paper first. And what I will share with people is, yes, I'm also in that camp. I love going, show me what the study says, show me what the science says. But if it works for you and the study says this doesn't work, then who cares? It still works for you. Try it, do it anyway.
As soon as you said that, I wrote down anecdotal.
Yeah.
Because it's that anecdotal life experience, right? The things that you go through and that you recognize that do work for you that are equally as important.
Yeah. And they can be silly. I'm trying to think if I have any that are silly and dumb. I don't think there's a study that says vacuuming helps distress tolerance. I love to vacuum when I'm experiencing distress. So for me, that works.
That's so funny. Yeah. Going into cleaning mode, I can see that.
Oh, yeah.
Why not? Yeah. What was your favorite part of getting the opportunity to interview Andrew?
I interviewed him with another psychiatrist, Dr. Christy Lamb, and I think my favorite part was watching them volley back and forth. It was a 30-minute interview, which is nowhere near long enough to go deep with him, especially because his stuff is 3 or 4 hours already, and some of it's just him talking. But to see where they were in agreement, what I would have liked to see was where they disagreed. That would be really fun for me to watch, and I think really telling. We don't all have to agree. I like when there's a disagreement, when the doctors are going, I think this, and the other one goes, I think this. But to watch
that, I would add in, there should also be some healthy skepticism here, guys. We need to develop that discernment and have that healthy skepticism to challenge a lot of these things.
Yeah. I'll probably get flack for saying this, but especially for the doctors, especially for our doctors, because we're the ones showing up with our insurance card and our checkbook and saying, help me. And I think about people who buy a new TV and do they research the latest and greatest in TVs and who makes it and where they can get it and what kind of mount they're going to get and the surround sound. I mean, my friend just did this. He probably spent a week figuring out what he was going to do for his TV situation. But when you look for a doctor, you go, this one's available Thursday. They have an opening on Thursday. I'll see you then. That's not I'm not saying you have to research all your doctors, but let's have similar passion, similar work when it goes to choosing and working with our doctor than we would buying a TV.
I agree. I have nothing to add to that. I think it's so important. Yeah. Actually, I have a lot to add to that, but maybe that's another podcast.
Well, there's this woman, I don't know her personally, but she reached out to someone else on our team, and she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And the doctor, her psychiatrist, said, okay, we're going to put you on these meds. And she said, okay. And she goes, why am I going on these meds? She goes, you have bipolar disorder and you're going to have to be on these meds the rest of your life. It's going to balance your mood out. And she goes, what are the long-term side effects of being on this for a life? And he goes, I don't know. And she goes, you don't know? And he goes, no. And she goes, what's
informed consent?
What's the research say? And he goes, they did a 4 or 6 week trial on him. And she goes, a 4 to 6 week trial is, I plan on living way longer than that. And how many of us, myself included, would take the meds from the doctor and go, one a day, sounds good. I'll call you when I need a refill, and move on with our life. And she was advocating for herself enough to say, now hold on, for the rest of my life, what is this? What are the side effects? And the doctor didn't have the answers. So we have to. I had a therapist fall asleep during my therapy sessions no less than 10 times over the 2 or 3 years I saw him.
No way.
Yeah, 10 times. And now he didn't have a full nap. He fell asleep and then woke up and was like,
Have you ever had a guest do that?
no, not to my knowledge. And I put up with it. And I should have said, hey, I'm clearly this isn't going to work for me. I need someone to stay awake during this. So I'm going to go find another therapist. And I never did that. I stuck with it because he's the doctor. And that's just an old mindset that I used to have. It's a mindset a lot of people have. And y'all fight against it. We're the freaking customer, okay? They don't leave us reviews. We leave them reviews. And they better be on your side. And if you don't feel good about it, there are other therapists. And yes, it's so hard to find a therapist. And yes, all the good ones don't take insurance. And I know all the blocks. I know every single one. I get it. But if you're willing to work hard to buy a new TV for your living room, be willing to work hard to find the right therapist for you or your family.
Yeah, one of the most interesting interviews I've had, tend to interview people who are disruptors in the field of mental health. And I had on Brooke Seam, who won an episode of CHOP, but then also wrote a book called May Cause Side Effects. And it's all about her experience with SSRIs and what she went through and how it started at a young age. And then it was finally at 30 that she was going through some different changes and experiences. And I won't ruin it for everybody. You can go check out the episode. But there was a lot of great content in there, and just we don't look at the alternative experience or the things that could happen with the long-term effects of some of the things that people are willing to take on at the advice of somebody that's a trusted figure.
Yeah. So she was on Chopped, and then she wrote a book about mental health.
And all of those things are happening concurrently. So
you were a chef, and now you have a mental health podcast.
Yeah, we talked about that. I think if you're in hospitality, it explains it all.
Yeah. Amen to that. I get that.
Yeah, no, if you've ever, it just is what it is. Now, you often ask your guests what we should be teaching our kids.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, what's one thing we're completely missing when it comes to preparing our kids for emotional and relational life?
Years ago, my answer would have been empathy. And that's still part of my answer. But personally, you asked personally what I think. Personally, it's resilience. We do not have enough resilience in our children. I heard a great quote the other day that says, too many parents are preparing the road for their child rather than preparing their child for the road. I go, if that is not the truth. And I see this with my own friends, kids. I certainly see this across MedCircle interviews. We are not doing a good job prepping our kids for life. They've got to not just fail. They have to fail and realize that they can get up and do it again. They have to realize that they can do it. They have to realize that it's not weak to ask for help. And they've got to be left I interviewed a psychiatrist and he said, let your kid run up the driveway and scrape his knee. Let him do it. I go, yeah, I get that. We don't have resilience. And I don't know the answer on a systemic level or a cultural level. That's too big for my little brain. But I do know that parents, uncles, aunts, teachers, caregivers, you don't even have to be in that kid's life every day either. You can model and encourage resilient behavior. This idea that we teach our kids that they can do it, that's lost. Kids are learning that they can't do it, that they're not allowed to do it, that they shouldn't try to do it. They're learning all of those lessons in well-meaning from the parents or the caregivers, but we've got to do it. Try to do it. If you need help, ask me and I'll help you do it. The resilience is number one. If you ask the doctors, which I've done, they will say empathy is number one. They go, before anything, teach the child empathy. Empathy solves so many problems later in life, which when I first heard that, I wasn't as empathic as I am today. And I thought, what are you talking about? That doesn't solve any problems. And now I totally see how it solves so many problems. But if you have an empathic child and a resilient child, woo, you have prepared the child for the road. You know, the road is going to have bumps and cracks, but that child will be able to do it with grace and resilience that it otherwise wouldn't be able to.
So my initial thought on that is that you would want the resiliency first and then the empathy. Because if you have the empathy first, and obviously these things are happening at the same time, you're not just doing one and then focusing on the other.
Yeah.
But if we got to put one before the other, I would say that resilience is more important, because if you're in that place of being more empathic, you end up trying to please everybody ahead of you in that process. So you abandon yourself in order to please the other people because you're trying to make sure that you're okay? What's going on with you? What can I do for you? How can I show up for you? Instead of focusing in on that self and then creating that strength and confidence from within.
Yeah, certainly for a 5-year-old, empathy is going to look a lot different than a 35-year-old. But, you know, that's where the empathy gets a bad rap sometimes, is this idea that this empathic person is so worried about the other person, so concerned about the other person that there's no self-regard for them. And sometimes that's the case. But I would argue that if that's the case, then your understanding or modeling or expression of empathy could be refined in a way to better serve you, not you specifically, whoever's talking. And so to me, empathy at its core is simply just my ability to try to understand what it might be like for you. That doesn't mean I have to come to your rescue. That doesn't mean I have to even feel so bad that it ruins my day. It's just my understanding of that. And you're right, they do go hand in hand. Most of the doctors, though, they always say empathy number one. They would fight back on this, Jason, and say, no, it's empathy. If you had to choose one, if you could only have one, empathy over the resilience. But
then the question would be, are we talking from a secure family of origin or an insecure family of origin? Because there's a lot of overlapping things that are happening all at the same time. So it gets really complex really fast and a fun thought experiment to have.
Yeah. I think too, for parents of young kids, you don't have to overthink it that much. Yeah. It's just look at some of your modeling. Do you make scrambled eggs and spill the milk and then catastrophize over it? Or do you make eggs, spill the milk, and go, oh, I spilled the milk, I got to clean it up? Just that modeling is going to teach your kids different levels of resilience.
No, you spilled milk. No, I got to blow up. No, just kidding.
Yeah, that's a joke in our family, but it's based in truth, is that when we grew up, the smaller the issue, the bigger the reaction that came from my father. If I burned down the house, he'd be like, are you okay? That's okay. It was just a house.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah. But if I leave the peanut butter jar lid off of the peanut butter, oh my God, it was like I burned down the house. You know? It was,
what's going on?
So I think modeling those little tiny things is so huge. And then watch our language. Watch the language. A friend sent me a video of her playing with her kid, who's probably around 3, with some new dinosaurs they got. And I don't remember exactly what was happening, but they're trying to set up the dinosaurs. And the mom sets up the dinosaur, and the dinosaur falls over. And the mom says, "Oh, I'm so stupid." And the kid giggles. Now, that one moment isn't going to do, in my opinion, it's not going to break the kid. It's not going to do anything. But if you're calling yourself stupid in front of your child, be ready for your child to have that same, they're going to model what they see. And when that child screws up, you might hear them say, "God, I'm so stupid." That's not creating a resilient person. It's also not creating an empathic person either. So that language and the modeling are such low hanging fruit. And I even have to watch it around my nephew when he's around. Like I get up and I go to the gym and I'll say, "Ugh, I do not want to go to the gym right now." Blah, blah, blah.
It's no, I get to go to the gym right now.
Yes. And my brother will go, "You mean it's an opportunity for you to go to the gym?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
an
yes, yes.
opportunity. Yeah, of course."
I get to take care of myself. Yay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, another example of that level of resilience that we can provide to our kids, I saw a video on social media where the mom gave the kid money, and he's probably, what, 7, 8 years old, somewhere around there. She can see into the store, but they had ordered some food, and so he goes in with the money, and he grabs the food and pays for it. And he comes back, and you can see that he's shaking. It's a level of excitement, maybe a little bit of fear, but there's a lot going on in his nervous system. And of course, his mom asked him, "How was that?" And he's, "That was amazing. I want to do it again."
Yeah.
And what an amazing opportunity for that kid. One, it's a core memory, right? Two, you're showing them that you believe in them, that they're capable, that they're strong enough, and you're building that capacity inside of them for that uncertainty and discomfort that is going to be deeply important in the future for how they handle all things in the future.
Oh yeah. I think as a child looking back, I got enough exposure to difficult times, but I don't think there was enough recap of those difficult times to help me as a young person with an undeveloped brain move through that in a healthy way possible. I still today, I'm 39. It takes me longer, I think, than most people to get back to a neutral level after a stressful event. I really hold on to it, and that's how I was raised. That is what I saw, that is what I did, and that was what was reinforced, and so here I am as an adult. And if I would have just had that little bit of, "All right, you went through that hard thing. How does that feel? Now, what did you think about when you were going through that hard thing? And did that actually happen or not? Okay, blah, 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 blah." I think I'd be a lot less, I think I'd be more cool today if I got that.
I don't know, man. I think you're pretty cool.
Yeah,
And,
thanks. I was compliment fishing, so that was
you know,
perfect.
you also have an alter ego or personality that you've created called Baba Blast. It's
Oh,
an
yeah.
educational show that uses storytelling to teach empathy and resilience to
That's right.
kids.
Yeah.
How did that project emerge, and how did those early lessons carry into the mental health conversations that you're having with adults now?
It's really the other way around. I was having all these mental health conversations with adults, and then my nephew loved that I had a YouTube channel. He thinks that's so cool. If you talk to kids these days, they think YouTube is just so cool.
That's the
And
job they want to have in the future.
it is. I know they all want
I want to
do
be a
it.
content creator. Nobody really asked for this, that you just fall into it.
Yeah, I have the little YouTube plaques at my house, and if a kid if a kid realizes I have those, they think I have an Oscar. They just cannot believe they've met somebody with a YouTube plaque. Anyway,
Quip.
my nephew was watching just garbage on YouTube, y'all. I'm talking garbage. The video was a dad running over groceries in the street while his family watched. It made no sense. It was just garbage. And I go to my nephew, Stone, his name's Stone. I said, "Stone, we can make better videos than this if you want." He goes, "Oh my gosh, yeah, let's do it." So we started making these videos I don't have kids, so this is what I'm just playing with my nephew. And then we started making them, and I hired an editor because if I'm going to put it out there, I want it to look good, and I don't want it to be garbage. And my nephew loves everything in post-production. He doesn't go on camera anymore. He only does post-production. He has a video camera, and he shoots and he films, and that's what he loves. He loves everything behind the camera. I know. And I'm so happy he likes being behind the camera. I'm like, that'll just be healthier all the way around. And, but I was like, we're not just going to make content that we want to do. It's got to be in line with my values. You've interviewed Dr. Judy. She taught me all about values. I know people hear that and go, "What do you mean you didn't know about values before?" And it's mostly, I didn't know how many values there were and how often they change and how much better your life is when you are making value-based decisions. And so I go, if we're going to make these, I want it to be, certainly there's an animal component because was an animal trainer. So we do a lot of animal stuff. That's in my wheelhouse. But in my other wheelhouse, we have the emotional well-being, and that's empathy and resilience. And so we will use terms like yet in the episode to help kids learn that even when they can't do it now, it's just now, and the future will be a different story. We constantly use the phrase in every episode. What do we say when things get tough? I can do this, and you can do this. And then we overcome that objective and obstacle. We're constantly modeling empathy, mostly through the main character, Baba Blast, and other animals, whether we're saving them, helping them, encouraging them, whatever, that I think kids do a better job of. The kids are more likely to be empathic towards a dinosaur that they like rather than another human being, I think, on screen. So we try to model all these empathy and resilient components, and that came directly from MedCircle. Directly. They were like, if this is what the doctors keep telling me we need to teach our kids, and I'm making videos for kids 2 to 6, then that's what we got to do. And I feel really good about that because during the day for my normal job, Monday through Friday, I'm at MedCircle helping adults with their mental health. And then on nights and weekends, I do these kid videos, hopefully helping kids a little bit with their mental health. And so I feel like I'm getting it from both sides. I can help the adults and I can help the kids. And that selfishly makes me feel really good.
It fills a really important gap in information.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people, you're right. You don't know what you don't know. And man, I didn't know a lot. Yeah, I didn't know a lot. Like I don't date anymore, but I'm telling you, I would be the best dater in the whole world. I would be so good because I would know I would have a much better ability to see all the red flags. People go, why should I join MedCircle? And I go, I can give you a ton of reasons. But are you single? And I go, yeah. I'm like, are you dating? And I go, yeah. I go, you should join MedCircle because I can save you. I might save you a whole marriage. Like I could save you from going into a terrible marriage. And it takes some psychoeducation to see the red flags because guess what? The red flags were always there. That guy that was so charming on the first date and took you on vacation and charmed your family and your mother loves him and all of those things. Okay. There were also signs that he was a raging narcissist. And you've got to be on the lookout for all of those things. And MedCircle, among other things, taught me that.
Yeah. And occasionally you discover or uncover that you're the red flag. Isn't that interesting? So we talk a lot about that low-hanging fruit, and I think it's so important because we love to talk about green flags and red flags and all the flags, and I think the flags are great. That's wonderful. But if you're not in a space of doing any type of MedCircle, I love that. At the same time, you can do this in tandem with all of that is the coaching aspect and getting yourself in a place where you're doing the work physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and you're focusing on that low-hanging fruit because there's just a lot of things, unfortunately, that you missed in childhood. There's skills that are underdeveloped or they were never developed. And it's that time and opportunity for you to become who you were always meant to be by doing some of this other work in the same process. If it is when you finally do that, because then you're tapping into your intuition, your nervous system, you're becoming more regulated, you're aware. And it's that power of the pause. All of a sudden you have all these skills and you begin to recognize, yeah, that relationship, that's actually not for me because I have boundaries and I have values and I know what those are and I hold my boundaries. And now that's something when somebody bumps up to that, I can say, hey, actually, that's a no for me. So I know my no, but I also know what I'm looking for and what I want. And you're willing to use that. So.
Yeah, boundary is one of my favorite topics.
It's huge.
Yeah.
But we're at the end of our time together.
Yeah.
Is there a question that I didn't ask you that you wish that I would have?
Biasly, I just want people to know that we'll give you, if you're cool with it, Jason, an affiliate link or a code or something that people can sign up for MedCircle or try it out. If they're like, I don't want to do that. Fine. Try out our YouTube channel. It's totally free. We do new videos every week.
1.6 million subscribers.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And we get most people who join MedCircle start on YouTube. So I think it's a great place to start to see. And I just wish I could jam it in everyone's brain right in the front that we all think we're not doing good enough. We all think it, at least at some point. And y'all, you're doing good enough. Like, I wish everyone could just get it. Perfect, probably not doing perfect, but good enough. Yeah, good enough. You're doing good enough. And that's good enough. So
I agree.
Just remember.
I almost stole your thunder there. My brain, the way that it operates, sometimes I tend to blurt things out occasionally. Yeah. But as you were going, I'm like, that you're enough, that you as a human being, as an individual, that you are already worthy, whole, and complete. And if you can carry that with you into your daily tasks, man, you are going to be doing.
See, I need to record that, Jason, and then in the morning I'm going to press play, and you're going to go, you are good enough. You're whole. You're complete.
You Thank you. All the things.
Thank you. That's what I needed. Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell everybody how to reach you aside from the YouTube channel.
Look, I think social media does more harm than good. If you want to get a hold of me, Kyle@medcircle.com. That's my email. It's a public email. Hit me up. I'll help you however I can. Kyle@medcircle.com.
And do you take any questions from the emails? So if people submit a question, are you using that on the show as well?
If they want to, yeah. Yeah, and if they ask me a question, I don't diagnose or treat anything. I'm not a professional. I'm not a doctor. But if any of our members do and can submit questions to any of our doctors, and we always get those answers recorded, filmed, and edited and brought right back to them.
I love it.
Yeah.
Kyle Kittleson, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Awesome.